What is a black swan event? Basically, it's an unpredictable event that has severe consequences, much like what happened with Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate, and like our entire banking system. No one expected these collapses. No one thought that it would ever happen, but it did. Now, the problem is that we haven't seen the worst case scenario with banks, and we're going to be getting to a point where things get much worse, and people are going to be left behind thinking, well, someone should have at least seen this coming. Do you guys think that these collapses were impossible to predict, or did people just kind of like look away? Now, from one term to another, we're also going to be talking about the term paycheck to paycheck. And so this was coined for people who can't afford any future expenses until their next check arrives. Usually you see this with people who have a lower income compared to others. But would you consider earning over $100,000 a year as low income? It seems that it's fast becoming one, as a lot of Americans are reporting that they're living this way despite making more than $100,000 a year. Are any of you guys currently struggling making what you're making right now? A billionaire hedge fund manager warns of more bank runs and says that the best person to get us out of this mess should be the next president. Who is this person? JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon. Do you believe that JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon would be able to get our economy in order? Would he also be able to prevent even more businesses closing down and filing for bankruptcy? Now, before I continue, please take a second, drop a like for the video. It really works wonders with the algorithm, and I really appreciate every single like that you guys leave. Now, if you're new here and you're in need of your daily dose of the truth when it comes to the state of our economy, Social Security, the stock market, the housing market, global happenings, and what's going on in Washington, D.C. that affects us, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also make sure your notification bell's turned on. And for the best way to invest in silver or gold, be sure to hit the link in the description down below. All right, guys, 2023 is going to be like the economic collapse we saw in 2008. You could say that, but is it? With everything that's been going on, bank collapses, housing markets busting in different parts of the country, credit card bills and record credit card debt spiraling out of control, the continued rise of interest rates pushed by the Federal Reserve, car repossessions at an all-time high, food costs becoming crazier than ever, the Social Security increase for 2023 not even cutting it, and we haven't even discussed the global conflicts going on around the world. This feels way worse than 2008, and it's kind of hard to compare it now because we're not even sure when we're going to hit the bottom of this thing.
What we're facing right now is really serious. We are on the brink of a 2008 style financial crisis, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. In fact, you and I discussed this at length in our long-form interview several months ago. And at the time, the Fed hadn't even raised rates nearly as high as they have today. And I was saying, look, you don't raise rates in record fashion on an economy toting record leverage at maximum speculation and expect no consequence. This was clearly going to happen, and now we're seeing the weak links in the chain break. The areas where speculation was most rampant and most egregious are clearly coming down, and they're doing so as they seem to do in all the three-letter acronyms, just like they did in 2008. We're back to the three-letter acronyms. And there'll be a lot more of those. And frankly, I think, this is the unintended consequence of the Fed's monetary policy, yes, layered with really bad fiscal policy on top of it. But essentially, they've been encouraging people to take reckless risks for years just because you had no alternative. You could get 0% sitting in a T-bill or having your money in the bank, or you could run out and you could speculate. And that's what they've done, and that's all coming back to bite them hard. And we've got some major consequences coming at us. And I think it's going to devolve very rapidly because of all the leverage that's been built up here.
It's exactly right. If you treated your children like the Fed has treated Wall Street, your kids would all be in rehab.
Now, don't call me the doom and gloom guy. I'm just being a realist. So let's just talk about the facts and the numbers. What is really happening to a lot of American households today? Around 44% of Americans, or almost half of us, were working a side hustle compared to 2020, and that's gone up by 13%. And to add to that, another report shows that 69% of employed professionals have a side job as well, or at least they want one. Even those who earn six figures aren't doing all that great, with 48% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year reporting that they are living paycheck to paycheck. Like, how does that even work? Now, a few years ago, making six figures would mean like you're like balling out of control, or at least at a minimum, you're living a very comfortable life. And just to put an even bigger snap to that reality check, around 18 million Americans are living in deep poverty. These are people who make less than $6,380 a year. The Federal Reserve data has also shown that the racial wealth gap is as large as it was back in the 1960s. Wow. Now, this has got to be historic. And like it or not, we are living in a time that will be written in history books. I kid you not, guys. They'll probably mention the Great Depression, the Great Recession of 2008, and like now. Now, we've already seen people move money from small banks into bigger banks. But what happens when a major bank closes down? That's going to be disastrous. Now, I understand that you need some money in the bank. You got to pay your bills. Otherwise, your bill pay is not going to work and you'd be forced to drive to pay each of your bills in person. Who the heck wants to do that? I guess you could also stuff an envelope and use snail mail, but I think that's pretty much obsolete. But some people say now is not the time to keep all of your money in the bank. You should be spreading your wealth. Maybe look at real estate, the stock market. You got some precious metals, gold, and of course, you still need to keep some cash on hand. Now, I know it sounds like a lot to juggle, but you need to put yourself in a position that's ready for anything at this point. It's almost impossible to prepare for a black swan event as we don't necessarily have all the information that we would need to be able to get ready. This is typically held on to by the elites that are probably ultimately causing these events. But I do hope that you guys are at least being responsible with where your money is. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not going to force you or even try to convince you into any kind of financial decision that you haven't already well vetted, researched, and are comfortable with. All I'm doing is sharing with you guys what I'm planning for and what I'm looking to do with my money. Now, if you ask Bill Ackman, the billionaire investor, he says that we should expect more bank runs. And he went on to say this, quote, "If you look at the deposit inflows at the big banks, if you talk to anyone at JP Morgan opening accounts, they're working literally around the clock to take in all the capital that's flowing in. That's not good for our banking system," end quote. So what happens if, God forbid, a bank run happens at your bank? Bill makes sense in warning us that things could possibly get worse, while also suggesting that the best president to lead us out of these economic problems was none other than a banker, Jamie Dimon. He said this, quote, "I'd like a globally recognized, respectable, talented business builder that understands the economy, that understands geopolitics, that has relationships with business leaders globally. I'd like a better version of Trump, a better business leader to run for office," end quote. Do you agree, guys? I know that some people are going to say that there are many other options at the moment, but this could just be him trying to lobby for a spot in the government. Who knows? I do, however, agree that we do need someone who can handle our money and solve our debt issues. Were you guys aware that we owe over $7.3 trillion to foreign investors? Now, your first thought would be China, but we owe more to Japan. China comes in at second, and then you got the UK. We're in a tight spot here, folks. And if you look back here at home, we have small banks that are getting destroyed by interest rates, and in turn, that affects many businesses. Within the first few months of 2023, we've seen national retailers like Macy's and Walmart announce multiple store closures. These are basically giants in the retail industry, and they're being forced to close stores. So what do you think is the future for small businesses then? What does that spell for the workers? Do you work for a small business? Are you a small business owner? Now, we've seen countless layoffs already, and we're just a few months into 2023. It's no wonder so many people are finding side hustles. Nothing is assured anymore, and everything is in such a fragile state that, we just have to kind of keep on our toes. Do any of you guys have a second job or another stream of income? Now, if you don't, I suggest that you listen to what I'm about to say next. Now, with everything that we talked about, I believe that we should end on a good note. Are times tough? Yeah, of course. Are a lot of people swiping their credit cards and building up debt? Absolutely. But a lot of people are actually doing that, stunting on the gram and flexing, trying to show off to people that they don't even know before the pandemic started. Are we not getting bailed out? Probably not. But that just means that our redemption will be that much sweeter. When you hit the bottom, the only way to go is up. And if you guys want to learn more about opportunities to make money, be it with side hustles or small businesses, maybe even get into some investments with the stock market or even real estate, ways that you could possibly generate multiple streams of income, then feel free to drop me a comment down below and let me know, hey, Ron, I want you to talk more about that kind of stuff in the future. But the first step always starts with you guys. Now, before I go, guys, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up for the video and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. Please be kind to one another, and I'll see you on the next video.